The race is on for President Biden to solidify a Supreme Court nominee. He's looking for someone to fill the seat of liberal Justice Stephen Breyer, who will retire at the end of this term. The White House has pledged to select a black woman for the role. Let's bring in Scott MacFarlane from Capitol Hill to talk about this. So, Scott, you actually had a chance to speak to Senators Dick Durbin and Ted Cruz about the possibility of virtual confirmation hearings. I want to play a bit of what they had to say for the audience, and we'll talk about it.
We have become so accustomed to Zoom meetings and virtual contacts. I don't see how it would slow down the process at all. In fact, practically speaking, it may speed it up.
Of course we should meet in person. You and I aren't virtual. I mean, that's ridiculous. The Senate is back in business. It's been 2 years. Yes, we should meet in person. If they try to push for virtual meetings, it's because they want to hide the nominee, because they're afraid of scrutiny. I can tell you I'm doing in-person meetings with nominees from this administration every day. It would be ludicrous if they tried to hide the nominee from the advice and consent of the Senate.
So, Scott, how will the Senate rectify these two opinions? Of course, we should point out that Ted Cruz is in the minority, so it doesn't matter what he, if the minority leader decides that this is how they're going to do it, or the chairman of the committee decides this is how they're going to do it, that's how they're going to do it. But what are you hearing?
This is going to be a logistical issue, and obviously there's a firm political divide on just that, on whether to do things in person, with masks, from a distance, or virtual. That's an indication of the fierceness of the political divide this entire process is going to be experiencing. For some news, a few moments ago we asked President Biden, as he was walking out of the prayer breakfast here, when he expects to begin interviews with possible nominees, and he told CBS News by the end of this month. That said, this month is when the process begins here. Obviously, there'll be committees figuring out the timetable for hearings once a nomination is announced, and the logistics. How do you have a nominee come into this building, which is teeming with COVID cases? In just the past week, the House Majority Leader tested positive with a breakthrough case. Members of the House and Senate in the past month have tested positive with breakthrough cases. Do you bring a nominee in here for those traditional face-to-face meetings they get in the rooms behind me? Or do you do what you did in 2020 with Amy Coney Barrett, who was given a fixed meeting room and senators came to her? Or, as Senator Durbin said, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, do we consider Zoom? That's a political divisive issue, which shows you everything along the way is going to be politically divisive.
So what's the sense that you're getting from lawmakers? I mean, are they genuinely concerned about the spread of COVID, or is this just another sort of using it as another sort of political hot button issue in order to sully the process or have us question the process in some way?
Well, to be clear, COVID is a political issue in this facility in certain ways. You can see, as the prayer breakfast began with President Biden last hour, that members of the U.S. House who went into the room unmasked tended to be Republicans. Members who walked into the breakfast with a mask on tended to be Democrats. That has been an issue, and we've heard House Republicans say, we're done with this COVID proxy voting system if we win the majority next year. Another fault line in which COVID is a political issue. All that being said, none of this is happening in a vacuum. You do have members testing positive, and at this moment, you have one member who suffered a stroke and is home recuperating for a matter of weeks. Every member's health is a prominent issue in the U.S. Senate, in a 50-50 Senate, with a Supreme Court nomination just weeks away.
So, Scott, let me ask you about Senator John Kennedy, who is reported to have said, when asked about the potential of a black female judge as a Supreme Court nominee, said, number one, I want a nominee who knows a law book from a J. Crew catalog. Has Senator Kennedy's office sort of explained what he was talking about? Because Senator Kennedy is a learned man. He himself attended Ivy League universities. He sits on the Judiciary Committee. He knows that anybody who appears before this committee to be a potential Supreme Court justice is going to be a learned individual, having attended some of the best law schools that this country has to offer. Have you heard anything from his office about what he meant?
We're going to be pressing his office for a response with our questions about that, Vlad. But let's also see the road ahead. There are going to be hearings. The nation will watch, and Senator Kennedy will be given 5 minutes, if not longer, to speak whatever he wants to speak to America, to speak his mind, to say whatever he wants to say. Wouldn't be surprised to see Democrats on the panel point to that previous comment when they get the 5 minutes or longer to speak their mind. Every member of the Senate Judiciary Committee gets a platform during a confirmation hearing. We saw that from the vice president years ago. She was given a platform and she used it, and it resonated for her. Every senator gets this piece of real estate to speak to America. We'll see what Senator Kennedy says when the hearings begin.
Yeah, right. Scott, thank you very much.